Imagine walking down the street when suddenly, a split second before a speeding vehicle slams into you, the world shatters into light, reality resets, and you're standing safely on the sidewalk again, heart racing, but alive. No scars. No injuries. No memory of pain. Only the awareness that you just died, and were instantly restored. This is the concept of personal temporal safety nets, a future technology that doesn't just protect life, but rewinds it, selectively reversing fatal events by restoring a person's body and timeline to a pre-death state. It's not resurrection in the traditional sense. It's not cloning. It's not medical intervention after the fact. It's something far more radical, localized time correction anchored to a living individual. At its core, a personal temporal safety net is a wearable or implanted system that continuously records the quantum state of your body and its surrounding environment across microsecond intervals. Your position, cellular integrity, neural activity, biochemical balance, organ structure, and even synaptic firing patterns are all stored as rolling snapshots of your existence. What scientists would call a temporal body state buffer. You are, in effect, constantly backed up in time. But unlike normal backups, these are not saved to a distant server. They are embedded into spacetime itself through quantum-entangled memory systems. The device doesn't just store information. It binds your physical state to a rolling temporal anchor, constantly updating what, alive and intact, means for you at that precise moment. If a fatal or catastrophic event is detected, massive trauma, organ failure, lethal radiation exposure, instant brain death, the safety net activates. In a fraction of a second, the system collapses the current failed timeline and restores your body to the most recent viable temporal snapshot. To outside observers, it would look like reality stuttered. To you, it would feel like waking from an impossible nightmare that never fully happened. You would not be healed. You would be undone. The idea sounds like magic, but its theoretical roots already exist across multiple scientific frontiers. Quantum state preservation, spacetime curvature models, relativistic synchronization, and predictive neural death detection algorithms are already under early research. Temporal safety nets simply combine them into one unified life-preserving system. First comes detection. The system must identify death before irreversible collapse spreads faster than temporal correction can occur. Advanced biosensor matrices continuously monitor heart rhythm, blood oxygenation, brainwave coherence, cellular electrical patterns, and molecular decay signatures. AI governs these signals, predicting lethality before it fully manifests. The moment probability crosses a critical threshold, when survival drops below calculable recovery, the rewind is triggered. Next comes the rollback. Unlike time travel fantasies that move entire timelines, a personal temporal safety net only rewinds your localized body state, not the universe. It restores your matter configuration, neural structure, and biological continuity using a quantum-stabilized imprint. The surrounding environment remains mostly unchanged. Only your position, condition, and immediate interactions snap back. That means others would remember the event you never finished experiencing. A car might still crash. A building might still collapse. But you would no longer be inside the fatal moment. You would exist just seconds earlier, standing outside your death. The implications of this ripple into every corner of civilization. For personal safety, this technology would be the ultimate form of insurance. Accidents become temporary. Falls from extreme heights? Reverted. Heart attacks? Undone. Industrial catastrophes? Survivable as long as the temporal anchor remains intact. Even battlefield fatalities could become reversible events, rewriting the rules of warfare and survival. Emergency responders would evolve into temporal coordination experts rather than trauma medics. Instead of racing against blood loss and oxygen deprivation, they would secure damaged temporal anchors and ensure rewind capacity remains stable. Death would become a system failure, not a biological certainty. In medicine, this technology would fundamentally redefine treatment. Surgeons could take risks previously unthinkable. Experimental procedures could be attempted with near-zero mortality. If a patient slips past viability, the safety net would revert them to a stable pre-surgical state. Organ transplants, neural modifications, and even full-body cybernetic reconstruction could be attempted without permanent loss of life. Aging itself might become negotiable. If your biological snapshot is continually refreshed at peak physiological condition, degeneration could be partially reversed by selective rollback. While this would not grant true immortality, aging databases would still advance. It could drastically extend functional lifespan. But the most mind-bending implication lies not in physical survival, but in memory. If you rewind to before your death, should you remember dying? Engineers face a paradox. If memory is included in the rollback, you retain no awareness of the fatal event. If memory is excluded, you carry trauma from an event that technically never finished happening. Some safety nets may store lethal event awareness in an encrypted psychological buffer, allowing users to review it later without overwhelming their conscious mind. Others may erase it entirely, preserving only the calm continuity of survival. This alone would reshape human psychology. Fear of death would diminish. Risk tolerance would skyrocket. Extreme sports would become routine. Dangerous professions would attract waves of participants. Society would slowly drift into a mindset where consequence no longer holds the same permanent weight. And that leads us to the darker side. What happens when people stop fearing death? Crime would evolve. Assassinations become pointless unless temporal anchors are neutralized first. Violence may increase as individuals experiment with fatal experiences, knowing they can undo them. Governments may regulate safety nets as heavily as nuclear weapons. Possession without licensing could become illegal in many regions. Insurance companies would rewrite every model. Mortality tables would collapse. Economic systems built on life expectancy would shatter and reorganize. Retirement might become a 100-year phase. Inheritance would lose relevance. Population growth would skyrocket unless reproduction is strictly controlled. And what about consent? Could someone rewind you without your permission? Could your state be restored to an earlier physical condition without your conscious choice? Could law enforcement rewind suspects during fatal confrontations? Could prisoners be forced to relive fatal moments as punishment? A new branch of law would emerge, temporal jurisprudence. Courts would debate whether a death that was undone still counts as death. Whether murder becomes attempted murder if the victim is restored. Whether memory of a death constitutes psychological harm even if the body survives. There is also the question of energy. Rewriting the quantum state of a human body requires enormous power. Early safety nets would rely on compact fusion batteries, zero-point fluctuation harvesters, or extremely high-density quantum capacitors. If a device depletes its energy mid-reversal, the results could be catastrophic: partial rollbacks, mismatched cellular states, neural desynchronization. This gives rise to terrifying theoretical failures. A person could be restored biologically but lose portions of their neurological data. Physical survival with cognitive fragmentation. A living body without a complete identity. The ultimate cost of temporal malfunction. Then there is the issue of temporal drift. Each rollback anchors you to a slightly altered future. Even microscopic divergences compound over time. If you survive hundreds of fatal events across decades, your timeline might separate drastically from what it would have been otherwise. Friendships end. Wars shift. Careers vanish. Children are never born. Your survival might reshape the destiny of thousands without you ever realizing it. A person with a personal temporal safety net becomes a moving fracture in causality. In military applications, this technology would be both devastating and destabilizing. Soldiers equipped with temporal nets could survive direct hits, explosive impacts, even targeted assassinations, until their anchors are destroyed. Combat would shift from killing enemies to disabling time systems. Warfare would become a hunt for temporal nodes, not bodies. Even spacecraft pilots would benefit. A fatal decompression could be undone. Radiation bursts could be reversed. Navigation errors could be rewound seconds before disaster. Deep space exploration would become far safer, even in hostile environments. But as always, power invites exploitation. Criminal organizations would attempt to acquire black market safety nets. Elite financiers would install multiple layered backups. The wealthy could afford near absolute death negation, while the poor remain bound to biological mortality. The inequality gap would no longer be measured only in money, but in survivable lifetimes. Some humans would effectively become functionally immortal, while others remain permanently fragile. This raises one of the deepest ethical questions humanity has ever faced. Should death be optional? For all of human history, mortality has been the defining limit that shaped culture, ambition, compassion, and meaning. Art exists because time is finite. Love feels rare because existence is brief. Sacrifice matters because life cannot be restored. If personal temporal safety nets become universal, the emotional gravity of life itself will change. People may delay decisions indefinitely. Relationships may lose urgency. Grief may become a technical inconvenience rather than a permanent rupture. And yet, the technology also holds extraordinary promise. Imagine disaster zones where no one truly dies. Imagine disease eradicated not by curing illness, but by undoing terminal states. Imagine explorers venturing into black holes, hostile atmospheres, and alien environments with the knowledge that even catastrophic mistakes can be rewound. Humanity would no longer be bound to cautious survival. We would become a species of experimental continuity, learning through failure without final loss. But can the universe truly tolerate such defiance of entropy? Some physicists believe repeated localized reversals could create instability in spacetime itself. Clusters of heavily rewound individuals might form temporal distortions that interfere with causality. Entire regions could experience synchronization failures, where cause no longer reliably precedes effect. The universe may impose hidden penalties for repeated defiance of irreversible decay. In response, future safety nets may include built-in rollback limits. A finite number of reversals per individual. After that, the anchor dissolves. Mortality returns. No infinite retries. Even time must have rules. And then there is identity. If you die and are restored repeatedly, are you still the same person? Each rollback restores an earlier version of you. But the memory of the death, the awareness of having escaped finality, changes you psychologically. Over time, you may become detached from consequence, sensation, and risk. Emotional blunting could arise. Trauma may accumulate invisibly beneath preserved bodies. Immortality of flesh does not guarantee immortality of the self. Some future cultures may reject temporal safety nets entirely, choosing natural mortality as a spiritual or philosophical act of resistance. Others may see safety nets as sinful interference with cosmic order. New religions may worship or condemn rewind technology as divine or heretical. But despite all risk, regulation, philosophical resistance, and technical challenges, the momentum toward this technology is nearly inevitable. Humanity has always chased survival. From fire to medicine to space travel, every major leap has been driven by the refusal to accept extinction as final. Personal temporal safety nets represent that impulse taken to its ultimate expression. Not just the survival of the species, but the negotiation of death itself. In such a future, your life would no longer be a one-way arrow. It would be a reversible equation. Each fatal mistake would no longer mark the end of your story, but only a branching that never fully closes. And in that world, the meaning of bravery, danger, sacrifice, destiny, and even time itself would have to be rewritten. Because when death becomes optional, life does not become meaningless. It becomes something far more complex. It becomes a series of choices that truly never disappear. And the most terrifying question of all would no longer be, how will I die? It would be, how many times have I already died, without knowing it? Hey everyone! If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, drop a comment to share your thoughts, and subscribe so you don't miss any of our future uploads. Your support helps this channel grow. Thank you for watching.